It's the final stand for Dragon Age Veilguard. Our lovely disaster is coming to a close. Good times were had. Woke was severely destroyed, and a lot of people opened their eyes. All in all, sad, but there is definitely some good from it.
Dragon Age of the Veilguard has been out for 2 weeks, and one thing has become quite clear. The game might be running out of steam, which some will argue that's totally normal for a big budget single player experience. Some, though, will also argue that if you compare this to any of the other big budget RPGs the last few years, they were doing far better numbers at this point, and the publishers made sure to let everyone know of it.
Well, considering Dragon Age has roughly undersold 4 or 5 times even what it was most likely estimated to sell, yeah, it's definitely running out of steam.
Dragon Age is an established franchise, and a triumphant return after a decade of being dormant should probably be garnering a bigger reaction, but it hasn't happened. If anything, it's just been a lot of negativity. Word of mouth matters, and the critic reviews don't carry the weight that they once did. This is a game that likely needed to sell 5 to 7 million copies at launch to make a profit. BioWare's Edmonton office has been
Yep. All the numbers are exactly as we predicted, boys. Everything is going exactly towards our Grandmaster plan of destroying the smoke infestation. A DEI hired game at the end of the day. Disgusting.
working on this game for 10 years, likely in full production since Anthem's release in 2019.
This game's main selling point is literally, hey, I'm gay, or I'm trans. Yay! Oh yeah. Or the classic yet fantastic, I'm non-binary. Come on, Jeff. The illnesses.
It's been through a reboot and tons of departures, a lot of chaos. Currently, BioWare employs around 500 or more developers. Most of those employees are making 6 figures, and it's reasonable to believe this is a $200 to $400 million game.
That's no, not this one. Not this one. This one right here. Oh, that's a cum dump right there. Literally claimed, yes, she may be autistic. But man, those hips are made for one thing, boys.
$1 million game, which requires millions in sales.
The only black elf I am willing to accept.
Which all indication is that it isn't reaching those numbers right now. But the chaos surrounding this game in terms of games media coverage has only continued as well. We talked recently about this Aftermath article written by a former Kotaku writer that argued that—
Oh, by the way, you know what's the best part probably about Dragon Age Veilguard? It's the fact, if you're playing a straight character, as literally 99.9% of the world's population is, and you're male, your only romance choices are a literal dwarf, and dwarfs are not even remotely human. So that's like zoophilia or something, or a cripple. Great choices, truly inspired choices.
that YouTubers and Twitter are responsible for the poisoned state of video game discourse. Zero accountability with their own role with how games media failed readers the last decade or so. But my most recent video is a lengthy one, dedicated to dissecting that drivel, along with a Forbes writer which tried comparing the Veilguard to Hogwarts Legacy and argued that games media—
I'm sorry, did you just call Paul fucking goddamn autistic Tassie a Forbes writer? Well, he technically is. But Paul Tassi is an absolute incomprehensible loser who only wants to virtue signal and, well, keep a job as long as possible, it seems like. Paul Tassi is an unequivocal loser. No questions, no remarks, no nothing, just a loser. Ignore him if you can. Keep in mind, these types of people, and I say that lightly, thrive from attention, okay? He wants to be the big star. That's why he became a journalist at the end of the day.
Hogwarts Legacy, and argued that games media was overwhelmingly fair to Hogwarts, as evidenced by the Metacritic score. Yeah, that's what he argued. In the days since that video, the Forbes writer has only doubled down, but chose not to respond when I confronted him with the facts. Hogwarts Legacy was a clear example of ideological bias, and review scores don't tell the whole story. Many reviews had points that had nothing to do with the game, and many outlets ran with disclaimers. IGN's reviewer said nobody at the company wanted to cover it. Rock Paper Shotgun refused to cover it. Fanbyte said they wouldn't cover it. The Gamer only ran negative articles. Kotaku said it was rotten. Wired's
Yeah, dude, Hogwarts Legacy was such a great example of the powers of Vogue literally not actually having any grasp in reality or any real impact over the world. It was great because they did their best to try and boycott Hogwarts Legacy. They did their absolute darn best. And keep in mind, J.K. Rowling, while she is an extremely plumpable, lovable MILF, is a complete lunatic liberal, okay? If not for the fact that she doesn't appreciate trans whatevers, because she clearly doesn't like transmission cards and shit. You know, she is a complete lunatic. That makes her hotter, honestly, in my opinion. But that's not the point here.
1 out of 10 was horrendous. PC Gamer gave it a positive score and still decried the game, same with Loadout and many other outlets. That's why when glowing review scores came down for Dragon Age the Veilguard from the carefully selected access media sites, readers overwhelmingly scoffed at that coverage, especially with the viral clips that would follow showing the modern day preachy politics that have no business being in a dark fantasy franchise like
Yeah, good old dialogue. The equivalent of if Teletubbies decided to try and talk full sentences.
Dragon Age, as noted by the Forbes writer's colleague, Eric Kane, that has far more integrity than most in this industry. But the games media circus show Meltdown has only continued with Dragon Age the Veilguard. We have IGN now running a negative article, which is very interesting coming from an outlet that just a couple of weeks ago gave this game a 9 out of 10, declaring it one of the best BioWare experiences. But I guess we gotta play both sides, especially since a lot of users are feeling very different about Dragon Age. Dragon Age the Veilguard is at war with itself, the sequel to Inquisition's...
It's not at war with itself. Anyone who has played Dragon Age and actually loves the franchise literally will tell you the exact same thing. The lore has been completely destroyed. This is just a classic thing that everything Vogue does to your hobbies, your entertainment, your games, your whatever, okay? They come in, take an established IP, completely subvert it, twist it, and malform it into something that's unrecognizable, that has absolutely no bearings to what has been before it, and that's it. They just take established things and ruin them. And for what? Don't know. Self-grandeur, maybe? Probably.
Red Wolf's story is trapped in an action game with no interest in the past, which feels like a lot of points that many of us were bringing up for a while. The overall result is that Dragon Age the Veilguard isn't the golden era BioWare game that I had hoped it would be. I feel like being gaslit here because games media was just arguing the complete opposite. Torn between continuing its traditional role-playing legacy and starting afresh as a modern action RPG, the end result is an awkward sequel trapped in a cage made of reboot ideas. And then an even more blasphemous article is this piece from Vice. I don't even know how to describe it. Dragon Age the Veilguard, the necessity of games journalism. The Dragon Age the Veilguard has been another example of exactly why players need games journalism more than they... Yes, you need games journalism.
Well, people have always needed someone to tell them, yes, you see that? What your eyes see is not true, but what your ears can hear is gonna be the new truth.
You just don't realize it yet. Oh god, Vice. We're going back to the trenches with this one, so it's no secret Dragon Age the Veilguard is the latest DEI game to be subjected to criticism with zero bearing on the actual game itself. You know, all of that content surrounding certain characters and the preachy political stuff that has no business being...
Look at that absolute dump truck. Look at it. Damn, boy.
And a dark fantasy franchise like this, just ignore it. It has no bearing on the actual game itself. Just ignore that content. Let's imagine a world without video game outlets, no IGN, no Kotaku, no Polygon. They all just poof overnight, gone. No more reviews or insights from games journalists. Stop. Telling me about a very bright future, if that's indeed the case. You know what that leaves you with, to gauge how good a game is? And yes, Vice is about to generalize and pick a random Metacritic comment up, and we don't even know if this is a real comment, but censoring on Metacritic has gotten completely out of hand. Not a smart move if you want to stay relevant, aka in business, because this whole NWO Great Reset woke psyop has failed. Narratives...
we have seen this. New World Order, by the way.
Crumbling and everybody's...
Which is 100% true. I mean, it's literally not fucking hidden even. This point.
Not bailing out in time will go down with it. This, in case you couldn't tell, is a user review from Metacritic. They're picking this comment out to generalize all user reviews, but anybody would know on platforms even like Metacritic or Steam, players and users are usually able to, give points to it and say if it's helpful or not. And most people probably wouldn't say that this is helpful because it doesn't say anything specifically towards the content, and it's also not really that funny. But we're going to generalize because they're trying to make an indictment on user reviews and talking about a future that doesn't even exist. Dragon Age the Veilguard is a lesson to us all. Now, what did you meaningfully glean from that comment? What information that excerpt will help you decide whether Veilguard is worth your time? That game has characters of different ethnicities, and I don't even think that comment had anything to do about that, and that's bad.
Different ethnicities is all that we care about here, okay? The blacker the elf, the better, okay? The gayer the man, white man, the better. Dude, they really need to start. You know what? You know what is woefully racist? The fact that we're not getting gay black men. A lot of black men are gay. Man, they're kind of pissed about the fact that you mentioned that. But a lot of them are. Statistics, baby.
This brand of criticism extends to YouTube, and yes, here's the generalization. They move it from user reviews now to people like myself, because this is what these outlets have been doing. They're trying to attack this medium as a lot of YouTubers and Twitch individuals because they're starting to gain a lot more traction than them. Games media is dying, and they have to put the attack, especially they have to give themselves weight for why access media needs to continue, why these publishers need to feed into their media machines, but at the same time, they're losing jobs while a lot of yourself, readers, are looking to individual creators for coverage. And these outlets like Vice like to gaslit their audience and lie about coverage that's coming from most, YouTubers and such. They say, sure, a few YouTubers provide thoughtful feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of a game, but some of them couldn't care less about worthwhile, relevant, informed discourse. That's a very small minority, if we're being honest. They don't have...
I mean, no, you misunderstand the point of that sentence. Worthwhile, relevant discourse is purely in the eyes of the beholder. So, the fact that they think there's no worthwhile, relevant discourse just proves, in fact, more that we do not need to listen to these people because they don't understand what we want. Or they want us to force us into understanding what they understand is right, which is obviously true.
Have to talk about the gameplay, visuals, characters, story, pacing, mechanics, or any of the other nuances one look for in a traditional review for a game. But guess what? Most reviews from YouTubers, the Mr. Matty Plays, Skill Ups, ACG, Wolfheart, Fextra Life, so on and so forth, all of them have meaningful criticisms about the actual game. Instead, they can turn their camera on and say a game
I mean, Mr. Matty and Fextra Life are doing negative reviews of this because they got burnt out of a fucking review copy and out of the industry, so there you kind of go.
Sucks because it has pronouns in it, and again, they're not giving any examples. They're just picking a random YouTuber. I'm sure there's one out there, but they're not actually giving any examples. They're just generalizing over many individuals in this medium. Or features too much diversity, or ruined a franchise by introducing any other sexual orientation that isn't straight or gender identity that is
based
a man/woman. And these aren't real criticisms. Many are very comfortable in understanding the LGBT themes in franchises like Baldur's Gate.
I absolutely am not. If you're gonna make it like Veilguard, I will absolutely not understand it.
And Dragon Age. They aren't talking about that. They're talking about the preachy political angle that a lot of these franchises have gone for with the modern day politics that are thrown into franchise, especially fantasy.
You know what's the worst part about modern day politics and all this woke shit? It's the fact that it's just so brain dead. And I mean it in the most literal sense. These people are not capable of understanding anything deeper than what is right in front of them. What needs to be right in front of them. If a character is gay, it needs to be clearly visible. It can't be a subtle undertone or anything like that. Because characters no longer represent deeper meaning through actions, motivations, and things like that. No, they are exactly what you see in front of you and nothing else. Okay? Because these people believe that you cannot relate to something if it's not blatantly visible what it is, which is an absolute fucking lie. We have, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. We have literally a fucking movie that's called Cars, and it's an animation about cars, where everyone can relate and understand the goddamn message of that shit. And they're cars. And here we can't understand, and these people think that we can't understand anything else, but if it's right there in front of our eyes, and the main aspect is just literally being gay, the fuck is wrong with you?
Fantasy franchises that have no business for that stuff being there. But again, outlets like Vice can't admit that stuff because it doesn't feed into their narrative that they're trying to deliver to their readers with this article. The readers that are left, I suppose. There isn't a conversation, a point to it, all just noise. It's funny though, Dragon Age Veilguard is getting lambasted for its inclusive elements because it apparently isn't a 10 out of 10 experience. Meanwhile, I don't recall Baldur's Gate 3
No, mostly because it's a 0 out of 10 experience. That's why it's getting lambasted.
getting a whole lot of flack for, oh wait,
And a lot of reasons why it's not even a 1 out of 10 is because of these stupid elements that are literally meant to override gameplay, experience, roleplay, story elements, and everything else.
never mind, I guess I had a momentary mental lapse. And the big thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is that it handled a lot of those subjects with a lot more nuance and care. That's the big issue with Dragon Age the Veilguard, in my opinion. And also there's a lot more freedom with the RPG elements within Baldur's Gate 3, and it leads by examples in that regard. But traditionally, people will excuse all that gross diversity if the quality is high enough, but true to form, that bar is only cleared once perfection is agreed upon. No real world parallels there at all. And the thing about Dragon Age the Veilguard right now is that the game still is doing all right in review scores. Even from critics, it actually has an 81. I think that's going to lower probably to the high 70s when everything's said and done. And only 68% of critics recommending the experience, and then users gave it a 30 out of 100, which
68% critics still recommending this absolute pile of slop fiesta is still kind of sad.
I don't know, I just find that funny in my opinion. But the big thing about Dragon Age the Veilguard is that the sentiment surrounding this game, even with all these positive review scores, it is overwhelmingly negative, which contributes to a very nightmarish scenario for BioWare and Electronic Arts, where they need to make millions upon millions of sales, and it just doesn't appear to, it's not going to happen. And the same story is on Metacritic right now, as you can see, 82 for, I think this is the PlayStation 5 review, it's a 78 on PC, and Xbox is the highest at an 85. User review score, though, much lower. And we actually did see Metacritic respond to this review protest because Forbes' Paul Tassi had to reach out about it. Metacritic responds to this review bombing, and Tassi said he asked them for a comment about the slew of Metacritic user scores describing Veilguard with terms like woke, DEI propaganda, agenda-driven, and so on. They issued the following statement: "We take online trust and safety very seriously across all of our sites, including Metacritic. Metacritic has a moderation system in place to track violations of terms of use. Our team reviews each and every report of abuse, and if violations occur, the reviews are removed. The question is what Metacritic actually labels abuse, and if many of these reviews meet those terms." And this is another example of an article that very much has an angle for it. There's a reason why Paul Tassi of Forbes reached out for a comment about this, because he views comments like this as problematic, and they should not be allowed. But let's be honest, a lot of these individuals who have played Dragon Age Veilguard are even walking away with this feeling, this sentiment, and maybe it's not said in the most articulate way, but this is a perspective that many players have about Dragon Age.
Dude, your opinion does matter even if it's not articulately to the most profound realms of existence and shit like that. Okay, your opinion can be as crude as whatever you want. It can be as fluent as anything that you perceive, but it doesn't matter, it's still your opinion, and it matters, and it resonates with people.
The Veilguard. And it's not like these comments are only limited to these Metacritic review pages, because it's also things I've seen on Steam. And again, you can just easily ignore or discount these, but again, outlets like Forbes, they have a narrative.
Wait, like, what the fuck exactly was this scene supposed to be? It's like, okay, you stay back, I'm gonna randomly go in front of it and die, probably. Well, what was the point of this scene?
That they want to spread with this, and they view that this is problematic and should be censored and taken down. In my opinion, that is not something that should happen. Now, in terms of...
Also, what's with the constipated fucking look here, okay? Why are we being constipated when it's supposed to be fearful, okay? Well, what the fuck?
That should happen. Now, in terms of how Dragon Age the Veilguard is doing right now, I think it's rather interesting. Jason Schreier deleted a tweet which was laughing about the game succeeding. He's been very tuned into a lot of the things that have been going on behind the scenes at EA BioWare for years. And he originally wrote, "Go woke, go bro," or "top the charts." And then somebody said, "There's no way you genuinely like this turd." And he said, "I actually don't like the game very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on." He deleted the original tweet, which I think may say a
damn, the chuds are doing a lot of dunking in the past couple of years, though.
Lot, especially if the game isn't doing all that well. And the thing is, it's also rather notable that BioWare immediately came out saying there's going to be no DLC at all. And this is going to be the first time for this franchise, and they're already focusing on the next Mass Effect game, which might be them just...
Dude, the absolute fucking irony. The fact that they make Dragon Age Veilguard, it doesn't sell, everyone knows it's a disaster. And they're like, well, now I'm gonna make a DLC for something that absolutely failed. The DLC probably, by the way, is just more gay shit. If you're really wondering. But now, okay, now that Dragon Age Veilguard has failed because it's a Vogue slop fiesta, let's just move everyone to Mass Effect 5 who worked on this game and see what happens then. Surely lightning can't strike twice, they said. Not looking at everything that Ubisoft has done, not looking at everything that Bethesda has done. Okay? Surely lightning will not strike twice.
Trying to move on from this experience because they realize they're not going to make a lot of money from this. And BioWare has had a very interesting track record the last number of years in terms of sales. You can look to Mass Effect Andromeda, it was still at the top.
BioWare is gonna perform. Well, BioWare is dead. They're kind of gonna shut down in a metaphorical sense. There's gonna be restructurings. There's gonna be a lot. Okay, but BioWare is at its last legs, without a doubt.
Top 10 UK sales charts. It was still.
I love that someone's trying to pretend that the UK matters, okay? The only thing that in the UK matters is which is the most stab-proof vest that you can wear when you're going outside, because chances are the moment you step even 1 foot outside, congratulations, 3 people are trying to stab you.
Number 1, I think, after a couple of weeks. And then they also, Electronic Arts, weeks later, said the game was a financial success, but that didn't stop.
Surely.
The fact that the game wasn't going to be receiving any DLC after all, and the studio was scaled down, shut down, and Mass Effect was put on ice for the last number of years until they made the Legendary Edition a couple of years ago. And
nice.
I think that says a lot about how these charts and being number 1 on UK retail, it just doesn't mean anything.
Again, currently Dragon Age Veilguard is easily going to be minus 300 million, okay, for BioWare. And that's already probably considering the fact that they most likely had to borrow every single penny to make this slop. Okay? That means that in the next year, they're not going to be just minus 300 million. They're going to be like minus 330 million or something like that. Or probably even more, because the percent for the loan is probably extreme at this point. So, yeah. Okay, listen, banks may be evil, but banks actually still do risk evaluation pretty well nowadays. Okay? No one gave fucking BioWare money without the highest percent of returns. It is not even possible, okay? So they're completely effed. Currently, the estimate for Dragon Age Veilguard is roughly in the range of 300 million to be have made. Roughly, estimate. Most likely, it will be 400 million or 450 million ish. But in a year when new information is released, or when BioWare shuts down and we actually get to see all the real information. This game is going to be close to probably 400 plus million in costs to make. It got made, it got canned, it got remade, it got canned, it got made, it got remade, like 5 fucking times in a row. And here we are. Establish your trans identity, boys. It is horrible. In any case, that was Legendary Kill HD. 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye.